ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. So we are starting from 32nd shloka, Karangulina Kotpanna. Is that correct?
Yes, Shruji. Yes.
So we completed that one. We are moving to the next nama, right? Like the Mahapashupatastragni Nirdagdha Surasainika.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming we've done that shloka because we've already done one nama. So we just need to go into the nama, right?
Right.
Okay. So, okay. Here where we are. So Mahapashupata Astra Agni Nirdagdha Asura Sainika. So that's how many words there are. This is one single nama, doesn't have multiples, one long nama, but you can just divide it into, for better understanding, Maha Pashupata Astra Agni Nirdagdha Asura Sainika. So note that Pashupata Astram, we have heard that before, and Maha Pashupata Astram is a different astra. It's not the same. I'm trying to see how I can pin myself. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, okay, got it. Okay. So Pashupatastram is different, and this has 6 syllabled mantra that we use in Sri Vidya for other purposes. So the meaning, the straightforward meaning of this is she burnt up the army of Daityas or Asuras with the fire of the Astra called Mahapashupata Astra. So I don't think I need to go back into the context. Initially, we saw from Lalitopakhyanam, we understood the scenario on why gods had to do yajna and invoke mother from it. And then we started seeing of who this mother who emerged from that Agni. So Sri Mata, Sri Maharagni, those 3 namas are extremely important. And then she emerged from this Chitagni Kundam. And then they described her physical form for quite a few shlokas. Then she got married to Shiva, and we talked about her abode where she lives, the Sumeru Madhya Sringasta and Chintamani Gruham. We've discussed that, and the Mani Dvipam. And then from there onwards, so she got ready to wage this war against Bhandasura and all his huge army. And we've seen various forms of mother that have emerged to have to fight this war. So that is the Sampatkari, the Ashwaruda, and all of those that we have seen that. And there were activities that were going on by taking over and killing the army. Now we are almost at the tail end of the war scene here, and we know that this war, though it is described as Bandasura, and there have been Vishukra, and all of these names have been given, we have also seen that these are our own internal aces and internal vices, and how we are fighting those by doing going through Lalita Sahasranam, by chanting Lalita Sahasranamam, we get rid of all of those vices. So here we are almost at the tail end of it. So she burnt up the army of Asuras with the fire of the Astra called Mahapashupata. So this Mahapashupata mantra is different from the 6-syllabled Pashupata mantra. The former belongs to Sadashiva and the latter belongs to Ishvara. I won't go into the detail of what that is. The fire of the Mahapashupata weapons, the highest mental modifications connected with non-duality, which arise progressively according to the progressive practice of the devotion. The army of the Daityas, the mental modifications connected with ignorance, those are all killed. And this also goes into the nama from Khadgamala called Sarva Dvandva Kshayankari. So she gets rid of the duality in our mind. And so we can see Bhagavan in his real form in everything that we see and even within ourselves. So that is the Mahapashupata mantram. So the next nama, we'll probably chant the shloka and then go into the namas. Let's see if I can chant these shlokas. Where am I? Yeah, okay. कामेश्वरास्तनिर्दग्धा सभण्डासुरशून्यका ब्रह्मोपेन्द्रमहेन्द्रादिदेवसंस्तुतवैभवा. I'm assuming it doesn't require a lot of breakdown. These are going to be now starting to be in easier shlokas. So who would like to chant along with this one with me?
Can I try this time?
Please go ahead. कामेश्वरास्त्रनिर्दग्धा सभण्डासुरशून्यका
कामेश्वरास्त्रनिर्दग्धा सभण्डासुरशून्यका
ब्रह्मोपेन्द्रमहेन्द्रादिदेवसंस्तुतवैभवा
ब्रह्मोपेन्द्रमहेन्द्रादिदेवसंस्तुतवैभवा.
Awesome. There is a different variation of the first nama. So these are again like, each line is one nama. So there is a different variation. Kameshwarastra Nirdhakta Sabhandasura Sainika is an option. But the Mahapashupatastragni Nirdhakdhara Sainika is also a Sainika. So this one, I personally prefer to chant the Shunyaka, and the meaning that's given by Bhaskara Raya is both, he gives both the meanings. So we'll look at the meaning for the first one. So what is the nama saying? Let's try to break it down. Kameshwara Astra Nirdagdha Sabhandasura Shunyaka. And there is for Bandasura, there is a sa that got added. So we'll see what it is. So Bandasura with his army was burned up by the fire of the weapon of Kameshwara. So here there is a new astra that is brought up, which is Kameshwarastram. So Sabhandasura Sainika, if you take as Sainika, it is with his army. If you take it as Shunyaka, Shunyaka Pattanam is Bandasura's city. So his town is called Shunyaka. So the whole town got burnt by this Kameshwara Astram. This weapon of Kameshwara is more powerful than the one mentioned in the preceding main. Imagine, like there's a Pashupata Astram we actually talk about, and that is powerful. And then the Mahapashupata Astram we were talking about is a lot more powerful. And now the Kameshwara Astram is like much more powerful than those two. Brahmanda Puranam says, the Supreme Mother Lalita, blazing with anger and throwing the whole universe into confusion, suddenly rendered lifeless with great weapon of Kamesha shining like the sun, the mighty Asura, the fierce and wicked Bhanda, who was left alone, all his relations being slain in the previous mantras. By flames discharged from that weapon, his city called Shunyaka, emptiness, with the women, children, cattle, and wealth, was suddenly burnt up, and its site alone remained, and thus the city became empty, and its name Shunyaka was justified. Or having described up to this name the condition of equality with Shiva, of him who has attained the last stage, the Sayujya, of the emancipation of the divine self, while in this present life, he now shows that Shiva alone remains. So this is the Jivan Mukta state that we are talking about. Now that we have gotten rid of so many of our vices, and in the previous mantra, the most important thing because the world in front of us, the universe in front of us is full of names and forms, and we have this duality that is by default, that is what we see, and we have accepted it by the very nature of it. So by just getting rid of even that, we are at a point where everything becomes shunyam except Shiva that exists. So that union of the Jivan Mukta state is achieved because you're living and you're in Sayujyam of Shiva. So of the emancipation of divine self, while in this present life, he now shows that Shiva alone remains, or he becomes Shiva himself. After the destruction, by the knowledge of the self, of the condition brought about by prarabdha, the karma which began its operation in the present body, with the subtle body, etc., which is then like a burnt cloth, a mere appearance of duality. The fire of Kameshwara, the fire of consciousness, because he is the universal object of desire. The Shruti also says, for the sake of self, everything is dear. Bhandasura, the state of Jiva, individuality, the cause of the appearance of duality, the army, the subtle body, the subtle body is his army. And according to another reading, Shunyaka, emptiness, is the appearance of duality as is seen in a burnt cloth, as it applies to the emptiness and unreality of atheistic school of duality. When the state of samsara, jiva bhava, which appears to the devotee as void, is removed, himself remains as consciousness alone. Did that make sense?
Sriji, can you a little bit elaborate? I think I lost you when you were
I
reading
know, right? Like
about atheist. Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes that's why I actually prefer to do like, I highlight and to speak from my notes rather than directly from the textbook. So what we are talking about is that non-duality, like, when we talk about the atheist school of duality, it is mere science. And from science, like, of course, we have a God's particle and the whole thing emerged. There cannot be a possibility of non-dualness in that case. Yes, like the non-duality you can accept is like, the same atoms in me are existent everywhere else in the universe. But what we are talking about, or what we have been learning throughout all the different classes we listen to, Vedanta tells us that there is the consciousness, which is the substratum of everything that exists in the universe. The consciousness, the awareness, the Satchidanandam, that is what is the original cause. And then came because of the Icha Shakti, there is a Jnana Shakti on how to create the universe, and the Kriya Shakti on the universe being created. All of this came into existence, but the original substratum is not sitting somewhere in a corner. It is spread, vyaptam, like we've also seen in Vishnu Sahasranamam, Vishvameti Vyapnoti. So as a form of Vishnu, the consciousness is spread throughout the universe. So when all the duality has been burnt, what remains is that the consciousness itself. So the union between the Jivatman and the Paramatman, or like between me and Shiva. So that is what remains at the tail end. So this is what this Kameshwara Astra Nirdhagda. And the original cause, even we were talking about in Vishnu Sahasranamam, the original cause of all the vices starts from Kama, right? Like Kama, Krodha, Lobha. And because there is a Raga and Shoka, like, I like this, therefore I want it, therefore if I don't get it, I'll get angry. So all of those have been eradicated for us. All of those have been burned down. And at the tail end, the non-duality also gets burnt off, leaving us leaving us away from the samsara and that Aikya Bhavam. Did that make sense?
Did you also mention that non-duality is atheist?
No, it says atheist is school of duality is what they said. So the appearance of duality as is, sorry, I'll just go back one more line. Shunyaka, the emptiness, the appearance of duality as is seen in a burnt cloth, or it applies to the emptiness or unreality of the atheistic school of duality. It's saying the atheistic school of duality is unreal, and that will be realized with this, when duality gets burnt, and you're left with non-duality.
Okay, thank you.
Makes sense? Shall we move to the next nama? Okay, yeah. Brahmopendra Mahendradi Deva Samstuta Vaibhava. So if you break it down, Brahma, Upendra, Mahendra, Adi, Deva Samstuta Vaibhava. Her supreme power is praised by Brahma, Vishnu, Mahendra, and other deities. So the Brahmanda Purana says, on that occasion, all the devas headed by Brahma and Vishnu delighted at the destruction of Bhanda, came to wait upon her, etc. Or Samstuta, praised, realized in themselves Vaibhava is infiniteness and omnipresence of the self. So, I won't go into a lot of detail today in the chakras and some other forms of deeper esoteric meanings we were looking at. So we know that within the chakras, all the forms of Bhagavan, so where the Srishti happens and where the Sthiti happens and where the Samhara, Tirodhana, Anugraha, we've talked about that previously as various layers of chakras. So they are all in the body. So the merger, the Kundalini Shakti has traveled from the Mooladhara all the way up and now has come to a point of unison with the Sahasraram. So what they're talking about is like the infiniteness of, or the Samstuta, once you have reached that, there is so much praise, or there is so much of Brahmanandam that happens within us, because of the realization of the infiniteness and omnipresence of the self. And when we are saying self, because now there is no difference between the self as the Jivatman and the self as the Paramatman, and attaining that state, they feel the infinite Ananda. Okay, let's look at the next meaning. Hara netragni sandagdha kama sanjeevana aushadhihi. So that's the first line. Srimat Vagbhavakutaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. Because it's a shloka, we'll chant it together. But to be honest, the line 34, that's when the war scene is going to be ending. And then we are moving into Mother's subtle form, her mantra form, as from the next line. So Srimad Vagbhavakutaikam, so that is going to be the mantra form. So I'll go with the meaning first for, just for continuity, I'll go with the meaning for the Hara Netragni Sandagdha, and then we'll chant the shloka and we'll step into our next set of namas. Hara Netra Agni Sandagdha Kama Sanjeevana Aushadhihi. So she was the life-giving medicine to Manmatha, who was burnt up by the fire from the eye of Shiva. Remember from the Lalitopakhyanam, where Shiva was meditating, and in order to kill Bhandasura, he would be killed by, the asuras were going to be killed by Mother, like the one Shiva's son, and Mother had to go disturb him, and Manmatha interfered, or actually sent the arrows, Manmatha Bhanas, and Shiva woke up and opened his third eye and burnt him. And Mother was the one, she was the life-giving medicine to Manmatha. So the eye, the third eye of Shiva, thinking. I haven't highlighted very specific ones. I'm just trying to see to which extent I wanted to. I don't want to go into like the Yogini Hrudayam and all of that. So in Brahmanda Puranam occurs the story of how Devi, who had enchained even her husband, the Shiva Swadhina Vallabha, we have seen that. Though he had renounced the world at the prayer of Brahma, etc., restored Manmatha to life. This agrees with the saying, children rebuked by the father are consoled by the mother. Similarly, if Hari becomes angry, the Guru is the protector. So this is what the Brahma Vaivartana Puranam, and we've seen that too. If God's angry, then Guru can protect, but if Guru is angry, nobody can protect us, right? So if Hari becomes angry, the Guru is the protector, but if Guru is angry, becomes angry, there is no one to protect. And it may be said, since here Hari is the deity to be worshipped, Paramashiva should be the savior from the anger of Devi, since he is the highest Guru without exception. So he is the Adhinada, the Guru that takes us to the Paramatman. And I want to go into. So I won't go into the Guru Parampara. This particular nama has the Guru mantra, what we call as Guru Padukas in Sri Vidya. So I can't go into a lot of detail into that. So I'm going to skip certain part of my notes. But in order to find a guru or Devi to bless us with a guru, this mantra is usually chanted. So I won't go deeper into it. Hara, taking the real nature of the self. Hara, Neta, leader. Fire, causing forms to change. That is to say, the root of ignorance, Mula Jnana. Burnt by that. Kama, the embodied soul, whose real nature is Shiva. Sanjeevana.
Excuse me, Sriji, it says Hara Netragni in my book. Is it Netra?
I know. So I'm just reading. Yeah, Hara Netra Agni, but here Bhaskara Raya has used Neta, but not in the Nama. Just for this explanation, he has just used Neta as the leader.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But in the Nama, it is for sure it is Netra Agni. Hara Netra Agni.
Thank you.
So Kama, the embodied soul whose real nature is Shiva. So Sanjeevana, entirely getting rid of ever of the veil of Maya. And Jivana, the attainment of his own real nature. Medicine, that is, Devi is the means to attain one's own real nature. The meaning is that moksha is the attainment of one's own real nature through the worship of that which is in the form of Vidya and by getting rid of avidya. So, one, we were talking about getting rid of any of our desires, any greed and love, the kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, those have been, we were moving forward in that process, and we even got rid of non-duality. Right here again, kama sanjeevana aushadhi. He actually even now raises that kama again, like manmatha. That is the esoteric meaning in it. On what is a good desire. Like once we have assumed that sayujya, but there is for a jivan mukta, though there are positive, like the desire to stay in that. So there are some other desires that are required at that time. So she is the one who works as sanjeevini in order to bring out those specific desires that are required to maintain that jivan mukta state. Because I could think of this moment as, yeah, I remember I am nothing but the Atman, and I could live in a state for a few minutes, but then something else happens and I'm dragged into samsara with the same kama, krodha, lobha, right? So she maintains that aspect of being in the state of that jivan mukta as a jivan muktas. So, and therefore, by being so, she will keep us in that liberated form throughout the rest of the life. So, what they call it, like, Jivan Mukta and then Videha Mukta once somebody passes away. So, she will she will avoid people getting distracted once they attain that state, is what they're saying.
Sriji, one quick question. You said if you want to get a guru, this is the mantra you have to read. It's the whole mantra or
Yeah, it's the whole mantra.
line?
Yeah, whole mantra, the full line. The attainment of union with Shiva is not a new thing for yogi, and we were talking about this, that it is not a destination to be achieved. At some point, if I become a siddha, then Shiva will enter me, is not how it works, because it is his own very real nature, right? It is our nature. His own nature was hid by the depravity, brought about by the many material images, raised by the power of illusion, and the nature of Shiva becomes manifest in him when the covering is dispersed by following the method taught by the gurus. So it's the manifestation of or removal of that avidya and manifestation of vidya that gets us to so there was a question about how Ramana Maharshi attained Bhagavan or attained that Siddhi state without a guru. And they say that he would have done so much of sadhana in the previous janmas that he had the final few things that needed to be done, which he was able to do on his own and attain that state of non-duality. But it is not possible for everybody to just sit and to what I hear. Okay, don't blame me for this, or don't quote me that I said this. What they say is like, if I sit and think about who am I may not be able to get that because my adhikaritvam, and we've seen the adhikaritvam, right? Like the adhamadhikari, madhyamadhikari, and uttamadhikari, based on what category I belong in and how much of process I need to go through in order to get rid of all my vices before I can realize that real the Atma Jnanam. We need somebody to walk us in that path, and Guru's just a methodology is taught, and there are various different forms, right? Sri Vidya is one of the ideas, but to what I know, and to the very small extent that I know, it is one of those sophisticated methodologies that combines a lot of things and teaches us to go from one step to the other to the other. It just gives a step-by-step methodology. That's why it's called a tantra. It's a technique along using the mantras and the yantras. So it's a combination, a package of tantra, mantra, mantra, yantra, and tantra, the technique to go into all of it. But what Veda teaches is the truth, the fact. And for somebody like me, a samsari, who lives in a regular materialistic world, remembering that truth and living in that truth may not be as achievable today. So this is a path, gurus lay down a path on how to get there by just going through, like, the way, same way the war was waged to kill Bhandasura. Similarly, a methodology takes us from one step to the other, to the other. So what they're saying is, when that covering is dispersed by following the method taught by the Guru, the attainment of union with Shiva happens. Did that make sense? Okay.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
And there is one line I'm hesitating to say it out loud because, again, something not to be experimented individually. It says the attainment of his own divine nature and the mastery over the chakras. Of course, all of this is part of the whole Tantra package that I was talking about, to be done under the guidance of a guru. So the next nama, from here onwards, we will be looking at the mantra form. Now that they talked about, as soon as, like they said, taught by Guru, and what would the Gurus teach? So it has to, like a beautiful sequence, right? Now it has to go into that. First part is mantra. So now we will chant the shloka, if you don't mind, and then we will start from 34 second line.
I will.
हरनेत्राग्निसन्दग्धकामसञ्जीवनौषधिः
हरनेत्राग्निसन्दग्धकामसञ्जीवनौषधी
श्रीमद्वाग्भवकूटैकस्वरूपमुखपङ्कजा
श्रीमद्वाग्भवकूटैकस्वरूपमुखपङ्कजा.
Awesome. And because Visarga happens to be very less relevant to Lalita Sahasranamam, whenever it happens, please do make sure that you are actually pronouncing it. In Vishnu Sahasranamam, because all the namas are masculine, you will absolutely see Visarga right after, like, most of the namas, like 90% of them. Here you will rarely see a Visarga at the tail end, but if it is there, make sure that you're pronouncing it. We'll do the full shloka one more time. हरनेत्राग्निसन्दग्धकामसञ्जीवनौषधिः श्रीमद्वाग्भवकूटैकस्वरूपमुखपङ्कजा
हरनेत्राग्निसन्दग्धकामसञ्जीवनौषधीः श्रीमद्वाग्भवकूटैकस्वरूपमुखपङ्कजा.
Now aushadhihi is a hrasvam, not a dheergham at the end. So kama sanjeevana aushadhihi, not dhihi.
कामसञ्जीवनौषधिः.
Awesome. I actually prefer to do 2 more shlokas, if you don't mind, where actually the mantra, the whole part of the mantra is. So who would like to chant the next shloka, 35th one? I don't want to leave it at just the first. So the way it is, and we will talk about it. The first line that we just read talks about 1/3 of the mantra, and the next two lines talk about the second and the third, and the following one talks about the full mantra. So I don't want to break it in between, if you don't mind. So we'll do the 35th shloka. Kanthādah katiparyanta madhyakutasvarupini.
And sorry.
Go ahead, Taraji.
Kandādhakariparyanta-madhyakūಢasvarupini.
Just a minor nuance. The kantha, that tha is the Mahaprana tha. Madhya kuta, that tha is the regular tha, the Alpa prana. Kanthādah katiparyanta madhyakutasvarupini.
Kandāthakariparyanta-madhyakūಢasvarupini.
Shaktikūtaikatapanna katyadho bhāgadhāriణī.
Kūtaikathapanna-katyatho bhāgadhāriణī.
Some will do the full shloka once. Kanthādah katiparyanta madhyakutasvarupini. Shaktikūtaikatapanna katyadho bhāgadhāriణī.
Kandāthakariparyanta-madhyakūṭasvarupini. Shaktikūtaikatapanna-katyatho bhāgadhāriణī.
Awesome, thank you. Who would like to do the 36th shloka? Some. Go ahead, Krantiji. So we'll do the first line. Moola mantratmika moola kūtatraya kalebara.
मूलमन्त्रात्मिका मूलकूटत्रयकळेबरा
कुलामृतैकरसिका कुलसङ्केतपालिनी.
कुलामृतैकरसिका कुलसङ्केतपालिनी.
Some will do the full shloka. Moola mantratmika moola kūtatraya kalebara. Kulamritaika kulasanketapalini.
मूलमन्त्रात्मिका मूलकूटत्रयकळेबरा कुलामृतैकरसिका कुलसङ्केतपालिनी.
Awesome.
Sriji, one question.
Sure.
In my Lalita Sahasranamam book, the Kula Sanketa Palini is La, not La. Which one should I correct it to? Like it says
should be
Kula
La.
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 Okay. I will. Thank you, Sriji.
I think it is La. Cool. I believe it is La. Let me just check one more time and see if Bhaskararaya says the same thing. Can I get back to you on that, Krantiji, if he says something different? But what I know, what I've been told is La. But if it is different, then I will
No
keep
problem,
you
Sriji.
posted.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the first, as we were just talking about, Srimad Vagbhavakutam, there is one mantra that is very specific to mother, like, entry in, not entry actually. So there are layers of Sri Vidya attainment. So what they start off with is Ganapati mantra. And Ganapati mantra has to be done quite a bit because Ganapati is is in Mooladhara Chakra, and things have to move from there in order to go higher. And therefore, Ganapati is given as the first mantra. Without, like, and we talked about it many times, right? Without Ganapati's permission, even Shiva can't enter. Shiva can't meet Shakti. So that's where it starts. And then they give what is called as the Bala Parmeshwari mantra. And then that is done for quite a while before things move to the next stage. So the main mantra, the key mantra, Moola mantra for Lalita Parmeshwari is called as Panchadashi mantra. Many might have heard about it or even probably have it. It has 15 syllables and it is divided into 3 kutas. What kutas means, like, 3 sets. So the 15 syllables are divided as 5 syllables in the first set, 6 syllables in the second set, and 4 syllables in the third set. There is one common syllable in all these 3 sets, which is an extremely important syllable. And each of these syllables have something to be achieved, like, have a reason why they exist. So each of them have a specific, I do have a picture, probably I don't know if I can share it or not, but what I can share maybe is what they are meant for. And if anybody already has the mantra, so you can think about it that way. So the first syllable, and I'm talking about, so the first 5 syllables, right? That's the first kuta. So this particular line that we're talking about, that first kuta is called as the Sri Vagbhava Kutam. Okay? The second 6 syllables one is called as the Shakti Kutam, and sorry, Madhya Kutam, and there is another name for it, which is skipping me right now. It's the Madhya Kutam, and the last 4 syllables is called as the Shakti Kutam. So in the first 5 syllables, the first kuta, the first syllable represents wisdom, ultimate objective, dissolution of tamoguna, or dissolution and tamoguna. The second syllable is desire, creation, rajoguna. So we are talking about srishti, sthiti. And then the third syllable is action, preservation, sattva guna. And then the fourth one is manifestation. And the last one is maya, the one looking to the one. So that's what it actually says. I won't go into deeper than that. So the next set of 6 syllables, and this first 5 set, like the first set, the Srimad Vagbhava Kutam, it represents the causal body. And the second set represents the subtle body, and just kind of connects us back to the Mandukya Upanishad. Here in the second set, the first syllable represents the divine I, Ishvara or Purusha. The second represents Prakriti. The third represents heaven or the Swaha. And the fourth one represents atmosphere or Bhuvaha. And the fifth one represents earth or Bhuhu. We know, like from Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, right? Like those 3. And the last one, 6th syllable, represents Maya, the one looking to the many and the many looking to one. So then the third set, which represents the gross body, that the Shakti Kutam, the first syllable represents all. The second syllable represents desires and objectives. The third syllable represents individual manifestations. And the fourth syllable represents Maya, the many looking into many. As you can see, it kind of transcends us from the gross body to the subtle body to the causal body. The Maya also moves from the many looking to many, from many looking to one to many, and that many to one, and then ultimately going to the one-to-one relationship with the Paramatman. So it's an extremely powerful mantra that we are going to just learn a little bit about. There is so much about it. The Bhaskara Raya has written a whole book called Varivasya Rahasyam just to explain that mantra. And it's a large book. I've been through some of it. There is no way I can go into much any deeper because it just hurts my head. I can't even grasp some of that esoteric nature of these mantras. But he also gives in that, like, how to chant that mantra, each syllable, how much to hold, and how to, like, there's lots of details that it goes into. So that's how I'm just telling you, because think of these 3 lines. Even if you did not have the mantra diksha, that doesn't matter. These 3 lines you can chant, because Lalita Sahasram can be chanted by anybody. If you chant these, it is equally powerful, because we are talking about those specific kutas. So the first one is Srimad Vagbhava Kutam. I really don't want to stop in the middle.
Guruji,
Go ahead,
Quick
Anita.
question is this
Sure.
Panchadasi mantram, I was reading it about it also, but to recite it also, you should have proper guidance, I've heard.
Absolutely.
Because I
Absolutely.
got the thought, like last time also when you said, I went and I was seeing this and it said like without a proper guidance, you
Yeah.
can never use it. So is there a possibility you can teach us or no?
Mm.
Sorry, maybe you just don't.
Yeah.
Last time
It's
itself
like,
when you
you
said
know,
I was seeing this and yeah.
yeah, it's a one-to-one thing. And like, you know, you can Google it and find out for sure. I can tell you, please don't do anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is this the Sri Vidya mantram that
Yes.
Sri Vidya Upasakas, they will only learn this through
Yeah,
Guru?
correct. That's correct. Because lot that happens, and these are like, you know, the biochemical changes, like, and you can call it whatever, and you would say like, Shriji, do you really believe like by chanting something that happens? I can tell you from personal experience it does. So I'm not discouraging anybody to not learn this, but learn it from proper guidance and it has to be like individual attention has to be given, and that guru should have experimented with it, should have learned it from proper lineage, not from Google. These days you can Google anything, but it is definitely not wise to do it like that. At
Yeah,
least from my
I heard
personal
it's like a
experience.
loaded gun if you do it without
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
guidance.
And many people have passed it on without really telling what it is and how to handle it and things like that. Again, if you have it, I'm not discouraging you, but just try to make sure that you get the proper guidance now that you know what it is, or at least idea during these sessions that I talk about. Make sure that you get proper guidance for it. It's a very powerful mantra, and it will do what it is meant to do. But and we talked about it, right? Like, you know, I mentioned samhara, nyasam, and the sthiti, like, you know, how from the bindu you go to the external side, like the square of the Sri Chakram, and from the external square you get into the bindu, which is the reverse engineering process. If you remember from few classes ago, we talked about that.
Manifestation and manifestation, right, Guruji? Like manifestation and
Correct.
unmanifestation,
The
back and forth.
creation, yeah, the creation and the pralaya, and how we go backwards. And in order to go backwards, imagine thinking about if our raga, dveshas, and all of, like, you know, it's a learning process, right? Like, you know, we are born with raga, and yeah, like even in the Vishnu Sahasram class, we were talking about, you know, how we are tainted with so many, like, you know, corrupted ideas, like, you know, stealing and whatnot, though we know our conscience knows. And I was thinking, how young do you have to be in order to feel like, you know, I'll do something that is, my conscience is telling me something, but I will do something else. And I was thinking, even a little child, I remember my son, and he would run with his with our TV remote, and he knows throwing it is a bad thing, and he was just learning to run. And I keep like reminding him that so many times, that he just keeps looking at me, and he would just hold the remote in his hand, and I know he's like about to take off with that remote and throw it somewhere, and I would just be like, don't do it. But he already knows, even before I say don't do it, he would know. He'd be just looking at me like very, like in a very naughty way, that I'm going to throw this. Are you coming chasing me? Right? Like, even at that age, children know this is a bad thing. Like, mom will come chasing me, he'll break something, but still there is that chance of like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it the other way. And so it is removing all of those vices. And when we are going through that process of vices, it has to be done definitely under proper guidance. I won't say anything beyond that.
I will text you separately, Guruji.
Okay, so I'm glad we did not start the mantra meanings, or at least go into a little bit more. I wanted to do that, but I feel like I don't want to do one line and then or the first kutam and stop stop for a week for the second kutam. So we'll start afresh from next week from the Srimad Vagbhava Kutaika Swara. We'll spend a little bit of time to understand what it is. Okay, any final thoughts before we conclude?
Welcome back, Guruji. We missed you so much.
Thank you. I missed everybody too. So I was thinking, am I even I have to be honest, I don't know, if anybody will believe this or not, or probably would hate me if I told you this. Throughout the Navratris, I did not get a chance to chant Lalita Sahasranam. Will you believe that or not? Not that I wasn't praying to her, like that's like mother is what I was doing the whole, and we do for 15 days in Srividya from like the Padyami to the Paurnami. But I was doing it before the previous Paksha, and I'm also doing now for the next Paksham. So I did the 3 Pakshas. But I was thinking like I need to find time to do this. But what we would have been doing are the steps that are taught in Lalita Sahasranamam in a practical way. So this is like the foundation of Srividya, and then just going into it. So I was doing twice a day Navavarana Puja. So if anybody has heard about that, and that is a detailed, extremely detailed version of the Navavarana Puja. It takes about 5 to 6 hours each time. So I had to do that in the morning and in the evening. And as a group, we thought, how many times can we do this over a period of these 15 days? So when I did the take the days off from work, I had only this to do. So and thankfully my husband also took some time off during those days. So I had a lot of his support. But it's like phenomenal journey. But I actually was surprised after 15 days, I was thinking like, wow, I did not chant Lalita Sahasranam even once. I had so many other chants and there are so many other Sahasrams for mother. I think mother's Tantra is extremely detailed. And I have a whole set of Sharabha Tantram, and there are so many other tantric books, all the different techniques, the Dasha Mahavidyas and everything with me. But this is the one that is extremely detailed, and it is, I think, more popular as well. And you'll find a guru for this more frequently. It was a great time actually. But now I'm chanting this. I'm feeling this morning when I touched it, and literally I finished my puja around 8:45, and I went to find my books rushedly. And I was sitting down around 8:15. I was thinking it just brought me tears that I haven't chanted Lalita Sahasranamam in this long. So I'm super happy that we started off with Vishnu Sahasranamam and Lalita Sahasranamam. So we're quite excited to come back. Did that make sense to anybody that I did not chant Lalita Sahasranamam during Navratris?
Yeah, but you're blessed,
Yeah.
Guruji. You've been doing so many other things. But you will be happy with us. We practice. Thanks to Sujata, we practice.
I'm so happy to hear that. So we'll catch up in the evening for the chanting class.
Guruji, next week, do we have class? Because it's Diwali.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask everybody too. So I don't know if I should move to a Sunday. Would that be helpful for everybody? Or should we just skip that week and then connect back from next week onwards? I was actually thinking I'm starting now, and next week I might have to cancel it.
Sunday, please.
Sunday? Okay. Anybody else for canceling the class? Or are we moving to Sunday?
Sunday is okay.
Okay, so we'll catch up Sunday morning then. Yeah, and I'm also doing the Kedara Gauri Vratam right now. So, and it concludes on Diwali. So I do have lots of puja to do on
What
that
is
day.
that Kedari Vratam?
Yeah, even I'm doing, Guruji.
What is that?
Good. So the actual story is any vratam comes with a story, right? But we have to understand the esoteric meaning with it. The story is, and if everybody has time, and if anybody wants to jump off, please feel free to do so. Sorry, I feel very sorry to go over time. So apparently, Durva, some Muni, I don't recollect which Muni, goes to pray to Shiva, and mother is sitting at the same place, but he circumambulates only around Shiva. And Shakti feels bad, and she says, I'm right here, but he isn't doing to both of us. Why is he doing only to you? So Shiva says, because I am the one who created the universe, so that Muni has very high respect for me, and you are a separate entity, therefore he did not do it to you, or something around those lines. So Shakti does this vratam for 21 days, starting from the Dashami, the Vijaya Dashami, till the Diwali, that is 21 days, right? So she does this vratam, and on the 21st day, she attains the state of Ardhanarishwara. She becomes one with Shiva as the Ardhanarishwara Swarupam. But what that signifies is actually unison with the Paramatman, right? Like we are the energy the matter energy combination and union with the Paramatman. So that's the esoteric meaning. So for that, moksha prapti is when Kedara Gauri Vratam is done, at least to my understanding, and that's the reason I'm doing it. So that'll conclude on Diwali day. So, and my son is coming for Diwali. This is we don't get Diwali on a weekday very often, right? So I'm super excited for this Diwali compared to many others. Many times he would have been in the university and he probably did not even get a chance to meet him that day. So he'll be here. So I would like to change it to Sunday or at least cancel it. So if you're all okay with Sunday, we'll move it to Sunday morning, the same time.
Yeah, Guruji, totally fine. And I do Kanda Shashti Vratam also after that. So this whole Navratri, it's been like continuing.
Oh, I know. And I was like calculating with some of my cousins who are also into what I do. And we're saying right after this, there is Shravana Masam, right? Shravana Masam starts right after the Kedara Gauri Vratam and the Skanda Sashti comes. And then I get into my most, my favorite month of the year, which is the Margashira Masam. I do a lot. Yeah. I do Rudrabhishekam every day for the Kartika Masam. Then I will be doing a lot of my Vishnu things, that Tantra. I'm into Kamala Tantra as well. So I do the Kamala Tantra during Margashira Masam, and then Dhanur Masam starts in the middle of Margashira Masam. So I'll be doing Tirupavai and all of that. And then we go till Sankranti. And then right after Sankranti, the Shama Navratri start. So it's going to be a beauty. I feel super blessed to be born in this culture that we get to celebrate almost every day of the year.
Absolutely, Guruji.
Okay, sorry, lots of chitter chatter from me. Apologies for that. So we'll conclude with a short Shanti mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarvam Sri Paradevatarpanamastu. Thank you so much for your time. Apologies for going over. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you, Guruji.
Weekend.
Namaskaram.
Apparently it's beautiful outside, so hope everybody will get a chance to get out today and have some fun.
Thank you, Guruji.
Soon. Bye-bye.
धन्यवादः
Dhanyawadaha.